Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. As sure as the sun will rise in the morning, Western VTubers will never stop creating pointless drama for the sake of internet clout. Now recently that community has been working overtime to continue watering down terms like pedo and transphobe to the point where they mean absolutely nothing. And this time we have another term being boiled down into a meaningless buzzword, and that is consent. Today we're going to look at a VTuber who tarnished her reputation in mere hours after fabricating a set of drama hoping to gain sympathy points after falsely accusing an artist of violating her consent. The series of related events read like an AI-generated story using VTuber drama as the dataset. And normally I don't give much of a preview for these sorts of videos, but I want to give a preview for this one, an outline of the events before we plug in the details afterwards. So in a nutshell, an artist makes a tweet asking users to reply with their original character so he can make art of them being railed by his original character. Talk about a self-insert, am I right? And then a relatively popular VTuber, the main protagonist of today's manga series, replies to the artist's tweet, submitting her character to be drawn in that fashion. So then some time passes and then the artist completes the request, artwork featuring his original character, railing the VTuber's original character, right as the original tweet had previewed. However, the VTuber in question immediately requests that this artist take down her related artwork, a request that the artist would quickly and politely comply with. The VTuber then deletes their reply to the original post that demonstrated her willingness to participate in this artwork, and then makes a series of tweets claiming that her consent was violated by an artist who unilaterally made not safe for work art between their characters without her permission, where people were quickly able to trace this back to the artist, who was then harassed and reported by many users. And then after getting caught in AK lying about this whole situation, the VTuber made a stunning and brave 6-part apology where not a single apology was ever made. So yeah, the appetizer for this video, and trust me with the full details, it only gets much worse. So without further ado, let's look at yet another VTuber who risked it all for a drop of clout. So here's the main protagonist of today's story, the VTuber Jiya, or Jiya, Jebediah. I'm not trying to be funny, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm just going to go with Jiya for the purposes of this video, but I bring up their profile for really one reason, and that's to show that they are an 18+ streamer, a lewd tuber by all definitions. You can see the lewd puppy, 18+, and they have all kinds of art tags and things like that. And I don't bring that up to shame, I don't care if you're a lewd tuber or anything like that, but I bring it up to show that it's not exactly surprising that this VTuber would request not safe for work artwork of their character. And I can show examples of posts they've made that are lewd, like the typical like breed me type posts. Like, I'm not trying to get demonetized, take my word for it. They clearly enjoy not safe for work content, which, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with that. And just because they're a lewd tuber, that doesn't mean consent is somehow different, right? Don't get that twisted either. Like, just because they're a lewd tuber, it doesn't mean that people have the right to ignore their consent on various issues. That's not how it is. I'm just bringing that up because it's unsurprising that they would reach out to an artist to get not safe for work arts of their OC when they've done it in the past. It's just a pattern of behavior, and it makes sense for the purposes of this video to point that out. So here are the main tweets in question. They were made yesterday, and at least 2 of those are now deleted. And I think they're actually worth reading because it's not just about the drama. It does raise some interesting conversations. It says, we're going to start from the bottom and go up. Please don't make not safe for work art effing me without my consent. Now, this is actually a very valid point, right? I think when it comes to this topic, there's only one point that I think should be universally agreed upon. When a content creator, a VTuber for example, says, I don't want not safe for work art made of my character, full stop. Any artist who sees that should not make not safe for work arts of that VTuber. It's really that simple. If they say they don't want those things, you're kind of a jerk if you go out and do that. That is hurting someone's consent because they're making it clear that they don't want that sort of a thing. And I've dealt with VTubers who I think are quite toxic and terrible people who have made those requests. And even with people like that, you should honor their request to not have not safe for work content made of their OC. But here's the problem. They're saying this in a way that paints a picture of a story that didn't happen here. So they go on to say in the next tweet, I feel so violated. Please always ask the person for consent before making/commissioning not safe for work art with them. It especially makes me uncomfortable when I don't know you and we're strangers. That image brought me really bad flashbacks to when I felt so powerless in my own body and voice. Please just ask for consent. So again, all of these things would be valid, but as you will see, consent is not an issue here. They are watering down the term consent to apply to something that never happened. There was consent in this situation, as you will see. So we're going to go on to the artist in question here. This person named Brave Bengal. So a lot of people were able to get the context from what she was saying. Even though she never named an artist, people were quickly able to find the artist in question that she was subtweeting. And it was this person named Brave Bengal. So as requested, he took down the artwork. She came out after he posted it and said, could you please take this down? And he did. That's this deleted tweet up top, where you have users like this saying, consent was not given, report has been filed, this is blatant sexual assault. Pretty serious things to say, not only using that term sexual assault, but also reporting this account for, I guess, making art without the VTuber's consent. Where the artist replies, what do you mean? They submitted their character to be drawn, where that user replies, so are you saying Jiya consented to that, even with multiple tweets saying they did not consent? Where, of course, this VTuber or this artist then says, I don't follow them and I didn't see any tweets. They submitted their character. I drew the character. And then I came back to a bunch of strangers reporting me for sexual assault. Again, I say this all the time in these situations. Let's pause for a second and understand the severity of this situation. This artist is not only having their account go up into risk because people are making reports, but also they are being accused of sexual assault. Big accusation. That is a serious thing. And you're already kind of getting into a wishy-washy territory of sexual assault involving artwork. I don't know. I don't really, that's like a debate we can go into another time, but all of this leading to a very serious accusation against this artist who is getting harassed and reported over it. Now, I want to point out one thing before we move on. This user who is making these initial statements ended up apologizing once they got the full context, so don't flame them or anything. It seems like they learned their lesson from this. It's an unnecessary arc for people to try to say anything to them. They realized they were in the wrong, and honestly, they got tricked by someone who was lying about the situation, and that's exactly what happened here. So, the artist would go on to say more things, quoting over the original tweets, saying, give me your OCs so I can draw them getting railed by mine. He says, hey guys, if you don't want me to draw your character getting D down after you submitted them to be drawn getting D down, then remove your comment from this post now instead of after I've drawn it and getting me in trouble. Thanks. And this person replies, can't believe anyone would want to back out though, shaking my head, where the artist replied, I'm cool with people wanting to back out. I would just prefer a heads up instead of having a bunch of dudes reporting me for sexual assault or whatever. Yeah, like I said, very serious set of allegations against this artist over something that clearly was consented to, as demonstrated by some of these posts right here. So we'll get into the details of this tweet in a second, but this was just one of many posts calling out Jiya in this situation, providing evidence that showed that Jiya had fully consented to this artwork, And you can see it has a lot of likes, over 400 likes. It was one of probably dozens of posts with hundreds of likes calling out this VTuber for lying about consent in terms of this artwork. And it really started putting pressure, and I was just waiting for something to happen. And eventually they would delete their tweets and make their apology. But before we get into that, let's look at the evidence provided by this VTuber. So here is the original tweet by the artist saying, "Give me your OC so I can draw them getting railed by mine." Very straightforward, okay? Like, no one's going to misunderstand this. And it is important to note that this post was made on January 7th of this year. It wasn't that long ago. In terms of art, like, you can commission art and you might not get it back for months. That's pretty expected. So the fact that less than 2 months have passed since this post was made is not exactly a long time for artists to make something like this. But here we have this VTuber actually sending a reply to the original post. Now notice that they were saying, "I'll do the railing," while replying to themselves and the artist, but also Jiya, showing that Jiya had replied to the original thread. And that is something proven right here. You can see the tweet was deleted, and of course, here is this VTuber Melia saying their original comment that you could see back here. So when they said this, and they further replied, you can see all of the ats of the parties involved. So it proves that this deleted tweet belonged to Jiya. That is 100%, you can't refute that. So clearly they replied to this thread, and of course it was hard to get the actual screenshot of what they posted because they deleted it out of nowhere. But it's very obvious based on context, including this "I'll do the railing" content replying to Jiya that was posted the day after. This was posted on January 8th. So based on the context, it is very clear that Jiya replied with their OC asking to have artwork featured in this post. Okay, I don't think it's up for much of a debate. So as the day rolled on, it became glaringly obvious that Jiya had to say something. They were losing hundreds of followers every other hour, and it was not getting any better. So they came out and made this apology thread a 6-part apology thread. You know it's going to be terrible when it's 6 parts, because really all they had to say in the situation was, "I'm sorry." Didn't really require much more than that, and let's just see what they had to say, right? Let's hold off reservations until we get done with it. So I want to address what happened with the not safe for work art and some of the responses that I got. First off, no matter what, I do not condone or support any hatred sent towards anyone, and those who claim to do it on my behalf aren't supported by me in any capacity. I will continue to not name the artist, and to anyone who sends them hateful messages, please stop. Well, I guess it's a little too late to be doing this now after this artist has been accused of sexually assaulting people over your posts. Like, yeah, you didn't name them, but you basically led a trail of crumbs leading to their account. Anyone with any sort of skill of figuring out context knew who you were talking about. In fact, if Twitter users, the average Twitter users, can figure it out as fast as they did in this situation, you made it very easy for them to find this artist who was harassed over the situation. And obviously, they're going to get harassed. You made it seem like this person violated your consent and did something really egregious and wrong to you. Of course, people are going to start going after and harassing them. So they go on to say, the post was 2 months old and I had forgotten about it, and I was never informed that I was picked, nor asked if I was still okay with it at the point, or if I had any boundaries that they needed to consider. In the not safe for work community, consent, boundaries, and clear communication are absolutely important. Otherwise, this cannot be a safe space for anyone involved. The post I made was not created because I wanted to cancel or harass the artist. I wanted to make a very clear statement that outlined how insanely important communication regarding boundaries is in an effort to prevent something like this from happening again. So 2 months to me is nothing. 2 months in terms of creating artwork is nothing. That is just the average expectancy of how long art might take. This is not like a real life encounter where someone is getting consent for a sexual situation, holds off on it, waits 2 months later, and then makes their advance going off of that original consent. That is obviously doing something without consent. Consent doesn't linger around for forever in real life. But we're dealing with artwork where it takes time. I don't understand what the procedure here is. Like, are you supposed to like check in every time you're drawing something new? You're supposed to check in. That's not how these things work. And what I find very strange is all kinds of VTubers and large content creators have lewd artwork made of them. It's kind of a inevitability of getting popular in these forums. Like, you know, you should be able to ask for consent to draw not safe for work content. I mean, I have people ask me, which, you know, make more not safe for work content. As long as it just features me and no one else in the artwork, you can do whatever you want. That's my stance on it. And a lot of content creators, especially large ones, you don't have the opportunity to ask them if they consent to whatever you're going to draw. Like Gargura, you're not going to be able to reach Gargura to see if she's okay with you drawing her in a not safe for work situation. So the best thing to do is to understand if they've ever set public boundaries on these things and act accordingly. But in this case, Jiya agreed to the whole situation. They consented to the post. And like, I don't understand when you said when you replied to this thread where they were making the claim that if you reply to this, I'm going to draw my OC railing your OC. I think it was very clear what to expect as a result. I think it's very, very clear, and it's kind of, I think they're just doing everything they can to deflect blame in this situation and basically say that it's, you know, it's not the artist's fault, but it is their fault. And I think that's pretty sad. But like they said, consent can be revoked at any time. And just like I said, that is true in real life, but it's a little different when dealing with artwork. It's wrong to just assume that it still stands months later. Any claims that my intention to gain victim points or victim clout are baseless and inappropriate. I want to create a safe space environment in my community so any harassments towards anyone will not be tolerated. 6 out of 6 completed. Did you guys hear any apologies? You can pause, rewind the video and see. But this was a 6-part apology thread where not a single apology was made. They basically just doubled down and honestly put more blame on the artist, which is completely and utterly wrong. So that is the situation, and kind of like you reap what you sow. They've lost a lot of followers and they've lost a lot of respect from other VTubers and fans as well. Honestly, you know what would have been the appropriate response? Make a very short tweet apologizing to the artist and apologizing for the situation and saying that I was personally uncomfortable with this artwork. I shouldn't have agreed to it in the first place, but that's my fault for not speaking up before the artist completed their work. That's it, that's all. It shouldn't have been a surprise. This person consented to this thread and made it clear that they were okay with this artist drawing their character in this fashion. But like I said, there's a lot of interesting topics that we covered today, especially when it comes to drawing not safe for work, art of various content creators, and kind of the boundaries people can set there. So please let me know your thoughts about that and all these topics in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoyed the video, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.